Ohio State is 2-0 after a 70-0 win over Grambling State. And once again, as we do every single week, we start by grading the quarterback. Julian Sand, 18 of 19 for 306 yards and 4 touchdowns. His one incompletion technically did not hit the dirt either. None of his balls hit the dirt. It just got intercepted.
He had 2 incompletions?
No, he had 1 incompletion.
All right, never mind.
Yeah, it was just the interception, which was in the end zone. So technically, he had 5 different balls be caught by somebody in the end zone. It's just one was by the wrong person. Andrew, we're going to start with you. Grade Julian Sand.
He was an A, and the only reason he's not an A+ is because of what happened right there. Look, that's just not a throw that you can make. And Ryan Day kind of said this in his post-game press conference, like, if we're looking at the scoreboard from today, we're looking at the wrong thing. So I'm sure there are some people going, they just scored 35 points and a half, and it's not an A+. What are you talking about? But I think he's right. Like, that's a dangerous throw that Julian really didn't have to make. But the rest of the day, he was awesome. Like, I mentioned this to these guys as well, like, during the game. It wasn't just Jeremiah's behind the defense, Will Kazmarik's down the seam and nobody's covering him. It was ball was hitting him in stride. I thought the Carnell Tate throw was really, really nice. Carnell Tate made a great catch on that. I thought Julian looked really good. I thought, everything he did had poise. I thought everything he did had touch. You saw the upside of why he is quarterback 1. And you look at a couple of different things. We talked about Will Howard last year saying, he looks okay early, but there are questions about him throwing the deep ball. There are questions about him, kind of having that touch as a passer. I don't think we have those questions about Julian Sayin. So I'm at an A, and the only reason it's not an A+ is because of the interception there. But I thought he was pretty good, and I think you have to be feeling very good. I know I'm looking at a 70-0 scoreboard right now, so I know, and it was Grambling State. I know they won 70-0, but all things considered, it was how he looked, and he looked really damn good.
To be fair, JJ's touchdown was a busted coverage, as busted coverages get, and JJ's also just better than the other guy. His other touchdown, I don't even think he got pressed at the line of scrimmage. He just kind of, hey, the ball's coming my way. Stefan, what's your grade for Julian today?
Also an A. The interception is the only thing keeping me from an A+. I'm also looking at a 70-0 scoreboard, but that one's kind of broken. So it's 70-0, but if the clock was running, there could be a problem. So that's maybe something we should look at. The interception too. What I will say about it, like you just say, Gillis, I agree with you. It's a throw you can't make. It's I'm pretty sure they were on the opposite hash, so that's like a long throw to make, on an out route like that into the corner. But what I will say is that was maybe the only time this season where Julian's made a pass where even on the incompletions, you're saying he put it in a spot where only his guy can catch it. Yep. A couple times against Texas, it was drops. A few times, like the Brandon Inns play, I know we've gone back, like it looks like it's maybe a drop. Looks like at first it looked like maybe the defender was able to deflect that. Regardless, he put it in a spot where only Brandon Inns could catch it, right? This was the only throw he's made this season where you're just like, okay, you didn't put that in a spot where Carnell was going to be the only guy to come away with that. But outside of that, we're looking at a guy who, as you correctly said, only had 1 incompletion today. And frankly, in that Texas game, probably should have had 1 or 2 if you were to take it, adjusted completion percentage and things like that. So that's a guy who's putting the ball where only his 5-star after 5-star after 5-star receiver can make a play. And that's about as much as you can ask for from Julian Sand. That's the one thing that I wanted to see from this game. We knew Ohio State was going to put up points. We knew that guys like Carnell and Jeremiah were going to get open and there were going to be busted coverages and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, what can you learn going up against a Grambling State? There is going to be a defender in the way, and you have to get the ball past that defender. I thought the first touchdown with Will Kazmarik, super nice touch getting it over the linebacker. It reminded me of a throw Will Howard had, I think, in Wrigley against Northwestern with, I think it was G. Scott going across the middle of the field and right over the linebacker. Like those are the type of plays where, is Grambling's linebacker an all Big Ten caliber guy? No. Is he still a guy that's standing in the middle of the field and you have to perfectly place the ball over his head? Yes. It's that kind of stuff that makes me watch Julian Sand and go, this kid's going to be special. And with time, it's going to get better and better. So, yeah, 70-0 against Grambling, easy to walk away and say, yeah, of course Julian Sand was going to do that. But when you watch the plays closely, when you see what he's done in these 2 games against Texas and Grambling State, he's letting these receivers make plays. And we say routine plays routinely, but it's not always that easy, right? It's about, sure, you got to get it to your receiver, but you got to put it in a spot where only he can get it. And time after time, we've seen that with the exception of that 1 pick. So I give him an A. Everything we've seen from Julian Sand through 2 weeks suggests that this is a guy who, if he puts up a big game against Washington, I think we're going to start having interesting conversations about nationally where he ranks among quarterbacks, right? Like, you're not going to win a Heisman. You're not going to be in the Heisman conversation because you put up a ton of yards against Grambling or you put up a ton of, counting stats against Grambling. But counting stats do help when you get to December, and if you have those moments, if you have those wins along the way, it's going to help. He got a win against Texas where he outplayed his opponent, but it wasn't some kind of spectacular game from Julian. And he's had now a counting stats game where he padded the stats and made a lot of good plays against Grambling. If he plays well against OU, and if he plays well against Washington in a few weeks, we are going to be hearing a lot about Julian Sand. And Ohio State fans know about him because when he was walking down the tunnel at the end of the game, the stadium had emptied out a good bit, right? 70-0. People had gone home. People were going to watch other college football games. The people that were crowded around the tunnel were as excited to see Julian as they were Jeremiah or Caleb or Ryan Day. Like, the fans are starting to buy into Julian Sayin, and I think we're a few weeks away from having some really interesting conversations about him.
The answer is both. I understand that. Which one is it more? Bad throw, bad read?
Yes.
I said which one?
I'm gonna say read. That's just, you got to understand. Like Stefan said, you're on the far hash. You're throwing an out route at the goal line, and you have you have a breaking corner on the ball. To me, it's not a throw you make. I think it could have been. I think you look at it, and it wasn't necessarily misplaced. It was just not a smart throw.
I don't know if I agree with that. To me, it kind of felt like he was throwing to Carnell's chest on a play like that where that defender's pretty close. I think you throw it up and make Carnell go get that play. But I thought it was just one of those plays where, like, he had so much time in the pocket and he was like, what do I do with all this time? Okay, I got to throw it to someone. And I was like, don't do that. Not there, not then. But I would probably say bad throw.
Because I've seen, you're talking about it's from the opposite hash and it's an out route. I've just seen Ohio State quarterbacks do that. Justin Fields and C.J. Stroud made a lot of money all for doing that and making it look very easy. It's a very difficult throw, which is why the fact that those two made it look so easy is insane. But because that's the world he's supposed to live in, he's not supposed to live in the Will Howard, Kyle McCord world. He's supposed to live in the C.J. Stroud, Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields world. Okay, if they make that throw look easy, he should too. He probably shouldn't have made the throw, fine. But if you're going to make the throw, put it here and not here and give Carnell Tate a chance. And if he doesn't get it, it's just an incomplete. You probably still get yelled at on the side, making a bad read, but at least you live to see another day.
I think he was also just a touch late on it too.
Right.
So
if he fixes that, I think he's fine in those situations. I am going to give him a B though, and I said it last week. I'm changing my grading standard. You threw an interception. You can't. Right, as bad as Arch Manning played last week, if he doesn't throw an interception, maybe that's a different football game. That sometimes is what it might come down to in these matchup games. You can't throw picks. You can't put the ball in harm's way. Other than that, he did what I asked him to do today. They did on offense what I wanted them to do today, and that's throw it all over the yard. 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. That gets that done, baby. Ohio State 70-0. Get the text 614-350-3315. We're going to be talking about Julian. And the rest of this Ohio State football team on Buckeye. Well, so go listen to that wherever you find podcasts. 70-0. That's Stefan. That's Andrew. I'm Steven. See you later.